everyone. Welcome to the Film for Fans podcast, the podcast from movie fans for movie fans. I'm your host, Ryan Dunlevy. That is my co-host, Rob Dunham.
I speak fluent movie quotes, and I'm wearing my glasses because I went to school on Unforgiven, and we're ready. We're ready to discuss. Finally, I feel like one of the wrestlers at WrestleMania who has been out of the company for like 5 years and comes back, and everyone goes crazy with applause. I can only imagine that the people listening to our podcast right now have risen to their feet in their rooms all across the country, or at least in a 20-mile radius of where we record the podcast, and are exultant in their exclamations that we have returned.
We have indeed. After a week off because travel and schedules, we are back at it. We've got an excellent podcast for you. We will run down the box office, some good stuff coming out this weekend as well. The main discussion for this week will be the fourth in our series of reviewing Best Picture winners. And today we are tackling Unforgiven from 1992 and a broader discussion about the place of Westerns in cinema as well, along with that. And we'll close out with our watch list, movies we've watched over the past couple weeks. All right, Rob, you ready to get started?
I am. Let's do this.
Let's do it. So box office, number one in the box office in its first week is Sinners. Sinners did $48 million over the weekend in its first week. A Minecraft movie finished second, and that did $40.4 million, $334 million domestic for a Minecraft movie in 3 weeks.
Not bad.
Not too shabby at all. King of Kings finished at $17.5 million in its second week in the box office. It actually picked up 355 theaters for Easter weekend. So interesting. And it has a 2-week total of $46.6 million. The Amateur finished number 4. It finished with $7 million in week 2, and it has $27 million overall. Warfare in its second week did $4.8 million, $17.1 million for its 2-week total. So interesting box office numbers. Do you have any comments on that?
I also think the Minecraft total is impressive, but the first week for Sinners is also, for me, incredibly impressive. This movie has been like widely lauded by critics and audience members alike. It's like 97+% on both sides in Rotten Tomatoes, which almost never happens.
Yeah.
I went and saw it. For me, it's the best movie of the year so far, and it's not really a close second at the moment. It's just a great movie. I can talk a little bit more about it maybe either at the end today or in a future episode. But I would recommend that if you like any of the following, if you like horror genre, if you like vampire movies, if you like drama, if you like dark humor, if you like music, pretty much anyone who likes any of those things would probably like this movie.
Interesting.
And I happen to be somebody who likes all of those things. So this movie was like a fastball right over the middle at 95 miles per hour and like just nailed out of the park for me because
nice.
It'd be hard to put together a combination of things that I would like more, I think.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm surprised in 2 things. One, I'm surprised Warfare did as well as it did because it has basically no press, no advertisements whatsoever. So to finish in the top 5 in its second week is pretty impressive. I'm a little disappointed the Amateur did not do better than it did in the 2 weeks that it's come out. I saw this movie, and I'll talk about it later. I really like it, and I thought it was quite good. And so I'm a little disappointed it did not do better at the box office than what it did. Now, it was going up against the likes of Minecraft and things of that nature. But yeah, I thought it was worth seeing. So yeah. And I will be definitely seeing Warfare. I'm actually seeing Warfare with my dad tomorrow. So I'll get a chance to check that out and review.
I believe I will be seeing the Thunderbolts on Saturday with my daughter.
Mm,
So
nice. That's next Saturday, right? That doesn't come out this week, I don't think.
yeah, yeah, next weekend.
Yeah. Speaking of what comes out this weekend, we have several. There's actually a couple of smaller ones that I chose not to include just for the sake of time at this point. But there's kind of three main releases for this weekend. The Accountant 2 comes out this week. Rated R, 2 hours and 4 minutes. Christian Wolf is back and he applies his brilliant mind and illegal methods to reconstruct the unsolved puzzle of a Treasury chief's murder. This stars Ben Affleck. Most of the main cast is back. Sans the main female lead from last time. She will not return for this particular film. But the brothers team up with the new Treasury woman, and they're trying to solve the murder. So this one comes out this weekend. We have a horror entrance. We have Until Dawn, rated R, 1 hour, 43 minutes. A group of friends trapped in a time loop where mysterious foes are chasing and killing them in gruesome ways must survive until dawn to escape it. So we have Until Dawn, and we have a re-release of note, Star Wars Revenge of the Sith 20th anniversary re-release is back in theaters this weekend. So you can get the chance to see the third installment of the prequel trilogy. It is really hard to believe that movie came out 20 years ago.
Yeah, I'm gonna choose to go ahead and believe that that's not true. So
Yeah.
this
Oh,
this is that fake news they've been telling us about. I'm pretty sure.
yeah. When my buddy said, "Oh yeah, it's the 20th anniversary," in my head, I thought the Phantom Menace.
Yeah,
I did. In my head, I thought, "Oh, the Phantom Menace." So like, no, it's the Revenge. It's the third one. Really, the third one is now 20 years old. Oh, yeah. But that's what it
I
is.
guess we're getting old. I don't know.
I guess we're old.
Weird. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the three main new releases coming out this week. Of those, what's your fancy?
Run them by me again one more time.
The Accountant 2, Until Dawn, and Star Wars Revenge of the Sith.
I'm like 95% sure I'll see Until Dawn, just because I see those movies. But I'm actually very very interested and might have to make a solo trip to the theater to see The Accountant too,
Mm-hmm.
because I've been looking forward to this one. So I'm very interested to see how the guy who's playing Ben Affleck's brother does in this movie. And I completely just blanked on his name.
Joe Erdahl or something like that.
John Bernthal.
John
Yeah,
Bernthal. Okay, close enough.
yeah, John Bernthal.
Yeah.
More famously known for his role as the Punisher, and also the TV series The Walking Dead. Yeah, so I'm interested in seeing what kind of range he has, what kind of life he can bring to this character.
It is interesting to see what's going to happen here because I didn't love his character in the first Accountant, but it does seem like they're going to do a lot of like brother banter and like brother like family humor type stuff back and forth
Yeah,
on this one. So there's potential for that to be good. I'm just curious as to how the dynamic is going to work, but I'm very
yeah, it
much
looks like it's expanded for sure. So I guess we'll see how that plays out.
so it's kind of funny. I want to see The Accountant 2 most, but I have another friend who I'm going to see Star Wars Revenge of the Sith with because he would like to go see that. So I have my dad and a friend who are going to the movies, and we're going to see two movies that are not The Accountant 2. So I will have to find time to go see The Accountant 2 and possibly
No,
Sinners because I have heard good things about it.
yeah,
So yeah, we'll see.
yeah. I hope this is like the start of a trend that we're getting to the beginning of May here, and we start to see good movies come out on a more regular basis.
The prospects have picked up for sure.
Yeah.
Let's hope they continue. May they continue, please. All right. Well, that is a little bit of a box office update for you. And now we'll get into our discussion. This is the fourth installment of our series where we look back over previous Best Picture winners. The first one we did was Parasite. Then we did Amadeus. Then we did The Departed. And now we are on to Unforgiven. And Unforgiven came out in 1992, starring Clint Eastwood, Gene Hackman, Morgan Freeman. Um, do you want to get into the breakdown of the stats on it, or do you want me to do that?
Yeah, I can do that. First, I wanted to give just kind of background as far as
Mm,
where this falls in the like overall history of Western films.
sure.
I looked it up. It's actually number 12 all time box office for Western.
Mhm.
According to Box Office Mojo's definition of Western, which is kind of funny. I just wanted to run down this list because I was reading through this and I was like, wow, the Western genre hasn't had a whole lot, has it? um, so it's number 12. Number 11 was Legends of the Fall from 1994.
Legends of the
Number, yeah, number
Wow.
10, The Magnificent Seven from 2016. Number 9, No Country for Old Men, 2007.
Okay, we're stretching a little bit, but okay.
Yeah, I don't know where the definition of Western came from, but it is interesting to see the names on this list. Number 8, Maverick from 1994. Number 7, Wild Wild West from 1999. Number 6, Back to the Future Part 3 from 1990, which I guess is a Western in that it was set in the West.
Yes.
Number 5, Rango from 2011, which is
Oh wow.
ironically enough might be one of my favorite Westerns because it makes fun of all other Westerns, which is great. Johnny Depp is hilarious. Number 4, an actual real Western, 2010's True Grit, which
Okay.
might be like the last like true Western that has been made, I think, looking at some of the other names on this list. Number 3, 2013, The Lone Ranger.
Mm.
If you remember that movie, I'm sorry. Johnny Depp played Tonto in that for some reason.
It did not go
I
over
just, yeah, stars also Army Hammer, who has fallen off the face of the earth because of stupid life choices.
because he's a cannibal.
Yeah, maybe don't eat other people. I'm just number 2 is 1990s Dances with Wolves. I guess we can call that a western. And the number 1 western according to this list is Django Unchained. Take that for
Okay,
what
interesting.
you will.
Yeah, this is
So Django Unchained like $440 million at the global box office. Unforgiven made $159 million at the global box office on a budget of $14 million. Not too shabby. Um, it was also fairly well received when we come to awards. It won the Best Picture and Best Director in the 1993 Academy Awards. The movie came out in 1992, but the award was 1993. Also, Gene Hackman won Best Supporting Actor, and Clint Eastwood, who won Best Director and Best Picture, was nominated for Best Actor, which is a pretty impressive list of accomplishments there. To even be nominated for all three of those would be impressive. To win a couple of them
Mhm.
is even more impressive.
Yeah.
Um, Interestingly enough, this is one that I think Ryan might have a major bone to pick with because the major film that this beat in 1993 was A Few Good Men, which I'm willing to bet Ryan thinks A Few Good Men should have won the Oscar over Unforgiven.
Not even close. Not even close. Like A Few Good Men is like hands down. Like it's not even the same league as Unforgiven.
Yeah,
Sorry, Unforgiven.
yeah.
No, just no.
Well, I know
No.
this because I've heard Ryan talk about A Few Good Men on more than one occasion, so I'm
A Few
completely
Good Men is
unsurprised.
one of the best movies of all time, and
Yeah.
you really, oh, here is Unforgiven. Yeah, okay, no.
So I mean, I think the reason why Unforgiven won the Best Picture in 1992 was because in a lot of ways it was a recognition of Clint Eastwood's career as a Western actor because he even said when it was done that this was the last Western he would ever do because he didn't think that he could improve on it. Um, the end of the movie, he thanks Don and Sergio. Sergio being Sergio Leone, who was like the most famous spaghetti western director of all time. Directed a few movies you might have heard of, called A Fistful of Dollars, The Quick and the Dead, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. You might have heard of some of those movies. So he was like absolutely monumental, but obviously not recognized in American cinema because he was Italian.
Yeah.
At least not in the same way as Clint Eastwood ended up being recognized. So I think because this movie bears a lot of the hallmarks of just the Western genre and was kind of the, if you're gonna, in modern cinema at least, if you're gonna put a movie, like hold up a movie and say this is what a Western is, I think Unforgiven is the movie. Now, whether or not that makes it worthy of beating a movie like A Few Good Men, that's up for debate. I'm going to side with you on this one. Like, I really like Unforgiven, but I do think A Few Good Men probably should have won that year.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, the Academy's going to do the Academy. So
even in the 90s where like very good movies got nominated and very good movies won, they didn't always get the winner right. They did a pretty good job overall of nominating the correct movies and movies everybody saw, but they did not always get the best pictures right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there can be any doubt that looking at the list of movies that did get nominated, that it's deserving of being nominated for the best picture that year. I don't hold it quite to the same level as A Few Good Men, but this is not A Few Good Men podcast. We've had those. They were good.
Yes.
I'm sorry that I can't handle the truth. But
by the way, Gene Hackman over Jack Nicholson for Best Supporting Actor was a choice too.
Yeah, that's the choice.
That's true.
Because one of the hallmarks of a Western movie, Ryan, is the strength of an ensemble cast.
Yes.
And when I watched Unforgiven, I don't know about you, but I did not like Gene Hackman's performance was good, but it didn't stand out to me in a way that said, like, this is the best supporting actor of this year. Like, because in a lot of ways, almost everyone in the movie is a supporting actor because they're really supporting what the movie structure is, what the storytelling devices are, more than their performance standing out on its own. I was curious what your thoughts are about that, because that's what really stuck out to me. Like, there are so many different characters that have so many specific different roles in this, like cogs in the wheels in this machine that's driving this like whole Western story forward, that I didn't really see anything like jump out to me necessarily.
I think Gene Hackman's performance is notable because he's kind of the foil everyone's reacting off of. But he's not involved in the inciting incidents. But after the inciting incidents, he's kind of he becomes the bad guy. It's weird. There's a shift between here's what happens, here's who we think's the bad guy, and then it kind of shifts over to Gene Hackman as the bad guy. And so his performance is notable, and I would say it stands out just because of the role he plays in that. But yeah. So I would say I don't have a problem with him being kind of the focal point of supporting actor necessarily. I didn't think they gave Morgan Freeman quite enough to do in this film. I don't think they used him particularly well, but
Morgan Freeman was kind of like, here's Clint Eastwood's friend.
Yeah.
Here's Clint Eastwood's friend, but dead.
Yeah.
Feel sad now. Like, that's kind of how I felt.
He was only in there in the plot device to turn Clint, like to flip the switch in Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
And I just feel like that's underutilization of Morgan Freeman. So
yeah, you kind of have in Gene Hackman's character, you kind of have what's supposed to be the good guy becoming the bad guy, and I'm not really. And Clint Eastwood's character to me is in a lot of ways ambiguous when it comes to that, because is he a hero? Is he an anti-hero? Is he a straight up bad guy? I feel like there's gray in there, and I'm not really sure where it lands. Like, one of the biggest hallmarks of the spaghetti Western subgenre was that instead of focusing on the good guy, like saving people from evil as like an anti-hero
Yeah.
character. So I think Clint Eastwood was kind of writing some of that, acting some of that into his
Hmm.
character of William Money.
Yeah.
Um, but at no point did I really feel like he was the bad guy. I don't
No,
know.
no, you just like, like, especially because they don't really get into like, he more plays the over the hill guy who's trying to be
Mhm.
reactivated. And then they kind of throw, it seems like they kind of throw in there, oh, by the way, this is the stuff he actually did. Because there's kind of like, oh, you're famous. Oh, you did this, but they don't really tell you what he did until late in the movie. By that point, you already kind of have established your feelings about that character.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of like, I'm done with this
Yeah.
until his friend dies, and then he's
Yeah.
like, I'm going to kill everyone.
By the way, can we talk about the fact that Clint Eastwood was basically doing a sayonara, like I'm over the hill,
Uh huh.
I'm done with this genre in 1992.
Yeah.
He's still directing movies. He directed one that came out last year,
Yeah.
1992, and he's like, "Well, my career is winding down."
Yeah.
Like that
And
part
the
of it is
interesting
pretty funny.
and the interesting thing about it is if you look at it like just face value, like Clint Eastwood is saying, I'm done with westerns, sure,
Mhm.
but like um, you watch Gran Torino or you watch like any number of his other movies, there are so many elements of what drives a western story forward
Mhm.
present in his movies, even if they're not westerns.
Yeah.
Like one of the main things that like the biggest hallmark for me, and I did some research. I didn't see this in my research, and I was kind of surprised. To me, one of the enduring, most recognizable aspects of a Western movie is suspense,
Hmm.
especially suspense when it comes to interpersonal dynamics, the showdown kind of scenario where you're not sure what's going to happen next. And
Yeah.
that's very evident in the one scene where he goes back into town, sees Morgan Freeman in the box, goes into the saloon, and you're like, all right, who's about to die?
Mhm.
Because somebody is.
Yeah.
And that's like and I see that borrowed in a lot of cinema, and it made me think of um, Quentin Tarantino
Hmm.
and Inglorious Bastards, that opening scene where they're in the room. It has a very Western type feel of like you're not really sure what's going to happen, and anything could change in like the flip of a switch.
And I think you look at another Tarantino movie that I talked about like last time we were on is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because
Mm-hmm.
the main character is a spaghetti western guy, is a
Yeah,
retiring over the hill spaghetti western guy. And so like that era, that genre is very much in Quentin Tarantino's mindset and how he views Hollywood and how he makes movies. So for sure.
yeah. Even the name Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a takeoff of two of Sergio Leone's own films, Once Upon a Time in the West and Once Upon a Time in America.
Yeah.
So um, he didn't come up with that out of nothing. Like he's very clearly evidenced by that.
Mhm.
How do you feel about the use of and this was another thing that's present in a lot of Western movies that I saw very clearly in this movie. How do you feel about the use of, I'm going to call them stock characters,
Mhm.
like the saloon owner, the prostitutes? Like
Yeah.
this just seems to be a theme in Western movies or TV shows that there's
Mhm.
always the prostitutes in the saloon, or like just random cowboys, or
Yeah.
um, one thing that wasn't really present in this one that's present in a lot of other ones was Native Americans.
Mm-hmm.
This one was really not focused on that at all. It was much
No.
more focused on just these frontier people. I mean, even the concept of a frontier town is kind of a stock character
Yeah.
too. Um, do you think they served the story well in this movie? Like, did they provide anything to the story, or they just kind of there in the background? Like,
Yes, they are there in the background. And yes, they don't make much. I mean, you can pretty much swap out any of these from any other westerns, and nothing changes for the most part. So that from that aspect, they are very stock. They are very do this. The one thing that makes westerns work considering how much stock and how much common language there is between westerns, in terms of the cinematography, the format, the structure, is that it is very clearly defined. The western movie is one of the clearest defined genres. When you go to a western, you will see X. And perhaps it's one of the most clearly defined genres in terms of the movie structure and how the movie is going to play out. The other one I can think of is like the romantic comedy has a very clear structure that you know you're going to get when you watch that particular type of movie. Now I think there's more variation around the details in a romantic comedy than there is in the westerns, but I think the westerns can get away with that because they've established such a language of this is how our films are told and this is what the films look like and what they show. Therefore, you almost expect the background characters to be stock, to be
Mm-hmm.
somewhat interchangeable, because that's what they've created, that's what they've defined in the genre. So you expect that. Now, does
Yeah.
it break that mold? No, it doesn't. But I don't think it's hurt by that because that's the language those particular genre of films speak in.
Yeah, I guess the one moment that stood out to me was the one girl, the one who got attacked by the cowboys, um, saying to Clint Eastwood, like, it wasn't nice that you made fun of me for being cut up. And he's like, I didn't mean anything by it. You're not ugly like me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, which is more than just about, what his face looks like after he got beat up. Like,
Yeah.
I think there is a lot of depth to Clint Eastwood's character. And I think because of the Western genre in general, you're left to kind of figure a lot of that out yourself, which
Mm-hmm.
I guess is why they didn't reveal his list of atrocities until later in the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I they want you to like him, so I guess that's why they don't tell you right at the beginning. He did this and this and this and this.
Yeah, and I think they want you, like, the plot driven point is they want you to view Clint Eastwood as the over the hill cowboy, as the over the hill hero. Like the when he's up there, they make explicitly clear that he's old and out of the game. The probably the funniest moment in the movie is Clint Eastwood trying to ride the horse, and he
Mm-hmm.
can't get on the horse, and he's like it's such a like given the stereotype of the Clint Eastwood Western, to then see Clint Eastwood can't even get on a horse. He was really playing with his own tropes that he had created there in those some of those early scenes.
Yeah, there's a lot of like dynamics driven forward by these stereotypes, but they're like subtly
Mhm.
shifted a little bit. But I just don't think they're shifted enough for me to say like this isn't really like a groundbreaking movie. It's very much the like I said, it's like an archetypal movie. It's
Yeah.
you watch this movie and you say that's a western.
Yeah. And like you were mentioned with the girl who got her face cut up, like she spends most of the movie saying nothing.
Yeah,
Like even when like the guy comes over and like tries to give her a horse as kind of a recompense for what happened to her, like she doesn't say anything. The head of the brothel girl, she says stuff the whole movie, but the girl who actually is like the one who's dealing with this says nothing for the vast majority of the movie, largely until that conversation with Clint Eastwood.
yeah. So in looking at this in like a final analysis kind of standpoint, there's two main themes when it comes to a storyline in a western movie. One is good versus evil,
Mm-hmm.
and another one is redemption.
Yeah.
Do you feel that William Money, Clint Eastwood's character, is redeemed in this movie?
No.
And if he's not, what could they? Is there anything they could have done to portray that on the screen?
Well, part of the problem is like, what is the aspect of his redemption? Does he get revenge? Yeah, he gets revenge for the death of his friend, but like they don't the only thing they could have done with this that would have given you somewhat of a redemption arc is to actually show you like him with the girl with the cut up face, like having a domestic life. You know,
Yeah.
they just roll back to the opening text
Hmm.
thread that kind
Yeah.
of fills in the gaps for you, but you don't actually get to see any of that. Um, and I think like what are his main things? Like he lost his wife, you know. There's no there. I mean, you get narrative saying, "Oh, he found another love again." Um, he lost his best friend. Okay, he gets revenge, but there's not really a redemption arc. Like you don't find out anything else about the children. Like the other part of him was, that could have been the redeeming aspect of his life was his family life. Like they never revisit his children again. So yeah, I don't know that it was set up well to be able to give you a redemption story there.
Sure.
And so this is, I
Yeah.
mean, these are
So,
some of the reasons why I'm like, it was okay, but I don't
yeah.
see it as like best picture winner movie.
Yeah. Personally, that's like my biggest quibble or biggest issue with the movie is that the ending doesn't really uplift you at all. Like it's just kind of like, hey, he made it to San Francisco and he lived happily ever after. Oh, by the way, his dead wife's mom came looking for her and found a grave and never found him or her grandchildren, but that doesn't matter.
I know, right?
Like it just to me it feels a little flat and like a little like we talk about movies having like explicitly dark overtones
Mhm.
or underpinnings. To me, this movie is like pretty dark in a way that not necessarily like not dark in the sense of it being evil, but dark in the sense of it being like I didn't leave this movie feeling a lot of hope.
Yeah.
Um, and maybe that's what he was going for by just like saying, "Hey, this is like the West. This is the West. Like this is
Mhm.
rugged. People die. People get hurt. No one ever really figures it out, and the guy just like leaves town on his own, never to be seen again."
Yeah.
Um,
I
and maybe that's his commentary on the Western genre, and
Mhm.
maybe that guy riding away on the horse was him saying like, "This is me leaving all
Yeah.
this behind." Um, but at least for me personally, it wasn't a powerful enough image to overcome that feeling that I had of just and I wonder if I'm a prisoner of my like a prisoner of being in our contemporary time where we did not really I mean we were kids so we were around when this happened but we could not and did not have an appreciation for 1960s spaghetti western Clint
Yeah.
Eastwood and what him walking away in 1992 from the genre would mean.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to guess that if someone was a big fan of his and had seen
Mhm.
all his movies, that this probably had a pretty big, profound impact on them even.
Yeah.
But for me, not having that context, it's really hard for me to see anything but like it's just sad,
Yeah.
the way it ends.
And I think from a movie making standpoint, like we talked about the redemption part, but I think for me, like the inciting incidents are a little muddled because what happens? The one girl gets her face cut up, and the prostitutes then like pull their money together to try and hire an assassin, and then like this random kid shows up and then tries to recruit Clint Eastwood and you think, okay, they're going to go and they're like the contest is going to be between these guys and the people who cut up this woman, and then very quickly, like the Schofield kid guy is gone, the two guys who cut up the woman are gone, and then they insert a second bad guy who's the sheriff of this particular town, and now the conflict is between those two. So like all of the inciting incidents like are gone and done as a primary storyline like halfway through the movie or somewhere along those lines. It just like the actual like there is no clear focus to the movie. It kind of shifts from one storyline to another. It kind of drops off some characters and comes back to another. So I just didn't love it from a story standpoint.
Yeah, and even before all that, like we didn't even talk about the fact that Dumbledore was apparently this crazy gunslinging cowboy from England who comes in at the beginning of the movie and then like gets kicked out of town 10 minutes in, and that's it. He's gone.
Yeah. Like it's that type of stuff that I'm talking about. Like there's just random threads and it kind of connects, but it doesn't connect in a way that really continues engrossing me in the story.
Yeah, I feel like the story could have used better writing, like you said, like better connective tissue, really.
Yeah.
Um, so my analysis of it, this movie's okay.
Yeah.
Like I enjoyed it, but I'm fully on board with you that I thought that year in particular, A Few Good Men is like in an entirely different league.
Yeah.
But that being said, and that's like, but I watched this movie and I think like it has all these hallmarks of a Western movie, but it's just kind of okay. So is that why like Western movies have struggled in the last, like we haven't seen very many of them, as evidenced by the list of movies that claim to be Westerns that I gave you at the beginning of this discussion.
Well, and
it just seems like I don't know what else you could do in that genre. I mean, No Country for Old Men, I think, if you want to call that a Western, it did something for it, but I don't know, like a true Western, I don't know if you're going to see a like truly crazy successful true Western ever again.
Well, and True Grit was a remake. True Grit
Yeah.
from 2010 was a remake of a 60s Western movie.
Yeah.
With I think John Wayne or something. So
and the other good one I can think of recently was recently, like early 2000s, 310 to Yuma with Russell Crowe and Christian Bale. That was also a remake. Yeah. So like I don't know if there's the ability to, is there an ability to write a new Western story?
I think you've seen some peripheral attempts. Like obviously you saw Horizon, and that kind of failed a little bit, but even that was kind of more like frontier than necessarily quite Western. I mean, it still probably would fit in that genre, based on the loose definition. Or what other movie I'm thinking about here? There's another movie I was thinking about, but
I'm wondering if you broaden the definition of what a Western is enough and include like an entirely different part of the continent, but just thematically the same. You could throw The Revenant in there.
Yeah, but see, the problem is though, that's the point. Is like the traditional Western is a very, very recognizable genre with very clear edges and very clear boundaries, and so the stretching the definition of it just to get more movies kind of in doesn't really do it justice, and does kind of lead you to think of like, okay, what is there a future for this genre? It's hard to say because was so much of the Western genre driven by key actors? Was it driven by John Wayne and Clint Eastwood? And absent those level of actors, is the genre defunct?
Yeah. What's the HBO show that I'm blanking on the name of now with the robots? Yes. Westworld. So I would argue that Westworld is probably the best adaptation of Western culture and themes, and that was a TV show. Yeah. Like if we're talking about anything somewhat recent. And
it was a remake. It was a TV show expansion of a movie that came out, I think, in the 70s or early 80s. So even that wouldn't claim to be original fanfare. That kind of idea had been done before. Now, I think what makes that one different is there's significant amount of sci-fi element that came into that. So it really did mix the genres between sci-fi and Western, which is one of the reasons I like it as much as I do, because I think it took the hard edge off some of the Western and brought in more sci-fi elements, which I thought really strengthened the genre.
Yeah. And then suddenly they're in Japan. Yeah. What a weird show. What a great show.
It's a great show. If you can ever watch it. Well,
yeah, that's pretty much all that I have.
One other thing I want to comment on.
Yeah.
Just real quickly, you were saying about how dark the movie is. I think part of that too is it's shot very dark.
That's
Like the
true. Yeah.
cinematography, the lighting is very, very minimal. You really are, it really is a dark movie from a lighting standpoint.
Hmm.
And that was not necessarily an uncommon trend in some of the early 90s movies. If one movie I think about in particular come out, The Game
Hmm.
with oh um, Michael Douglas. The Game with Michael Douglas. That was another movie that was shot really, really dark, where there was minimal lighting. You're seeing stuff like that. So that was not an uncommon element. Not that every movie was shot dark in the early 90s, but it was a more common thing. Like you would not see a movie lit this way in the modern era.
Yeah, I would say dark, but like a synonym for dark that I would use in this context would be bleak.
Yeah.
Like it felt like a like very washed out or like very little life it felt like running through the movie, if that makes
Yeah.
sense,
Yeah.
based on how it was shot.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, for sure.
Unforgiven.
Unforgiven. And there it is.
Ryan will never forgive it for stealing Best Picture from A Few Good Men.
Yeah. All right. So let's get on to movies we've watched over the last couple weeks. Rob, what'd you watch?
I saw Moana 2. It was Moana, but a second one. All I have to say about that. I saw Sinners,
Mm,
which I thought was phenomenal.
mhm.
Michael B. Jordan plays twins in this movie, directed by Ryan Coogler, who has directed Michael B. Jordan in several movies, all the way back to Fruitvale Station, which was his first featured movie. Um,
He also did the
Obviously,
Black Panther. Yeah.
Black Panther movies. Um, he played Michael B. Jordan plays twins in this, and I think it might be the best version I've seen of a movie where someone is playing two people, and
Mm,
it doesn't feel like it's forced or weird or like it felt like they were in the room with each other every time they were in the room with each other, which I think is a really strong feat of editing to make that happen. Like there are scenes where like passing cigarettes back and forth, they're joking around with each other. So he did like twice the work to pull that off, and I think he did a really great job of it. And I really liked how it drew music and the South and vampires and horror and drama and comedy all together,
mm.
uh, just to make a kind of it's I believe it's Ryan Coogler's first fully original screenplay, and it is original. There will probably be some people be like, oh, I don't like that, or that was lame, or whatever. But I applaud him for doing something original, and my opinion is that he succeeded
Mm.
at it. Um, what else did I've seen a couple horror movies recently. Uh, yeah, I don't remember what they were because they weren't great.
Yes. I will focus on the two movies that I saw in theaters since the last time we had this. I saw The Amateur with Rami Malek. It was really interesting movie. I liked it. I thought it took the kind of the spy genre. It it kind of um, had a different twist on it because it was most of the spy genre ones focus on a physically impressive spy, whereas this one did not go that route. It went the route of the kind of the intellectual and computer tech spy,
Mm.
kind of going rogue to try and find out who murdered his wife. And so you get some different elements, but it has a lot of the hallmarks of like a Bourne movie or a Bond movie where there's lots of world travel, there's lots of different interesting scenes, different places around the world. Um, there are the one element I would say that was fine for me, but might be difficult for some people is there is a decent amount of tech jargon that they don't spend a lot of time explaining. So, like they at one point they make a reference to the Stuxnet virus, and they don't explain it. And that was the
Mm.
virus that was used to like cripple the Iranian nuclear program. But they just kind of like in passing mention it's like the Stuxnet virus, but they don't explain that. So if you weren't aware of what that was, like that's a barrier for you to getting some of the things. So there was a number of scenes like that where there was some heavier tech jargon that might have been a turnoff for people who are less inclined to the tech sphere. But I really enjoyed it and thought it was well worth it, and a good spy film that does things slightly differently. They do try to do like the training of him, and I thought that was kind of one of the weaker scenes where it kind of fast forwards and gets through some of that stuff too quickly. It moves too fast in some of that, and so I think the sequencing is a little odd at that point. But overall, I thought it was a very good movie. I saw Drop as well.
Mm.
I
Oh,
thought,
I saw Drop is one of the movies I saw.
there you go. Okay.
That one was okay.
Yeah, it was.
A couple horror movies. Drop was pretty. Drop. So I'll let you talk about it first, since I forgot about it, and then
Drop was perfectly reasonable movie. It's not great, but it meets a baseline confidence of that was entertaining, and I enjoyed watching it. So
yeah, I liked like a lot of the editing choices with how they showed the text on screen. Some of the transitions, like when the one in particular I'm thinking of is when she goes to the women's room and it like pulls away from her and like kind of shows that she's completely isolated in this moment, and then like snaps back to her in the room. I thought was really cool. I thought like the the waiter character was hilarious.
he was something else.
I was dying to hear whatever he was going to say next. It was great. But yeah, I went into it. I guess it kind of portrayed itself like it was going to be a horror movie, but neither, like the group of people that I went with didn't felt. I felt, and you can tell me if you agree with this. I felt it more aligned with like that '90s suspense thriller kind of movie. Like I was thinking like Along Came a Spider kind of.
Yeah.
That genre of movie more than it wasn't really a horror movie. It was much more suspense.
And honestly, that's why I was intrigued with it, because it did not read to me like a horror movie. It read to me like a suspense thriller. And so I thought that was good. And so I gave it like a 3, and I thought that was like now it was a perfectly reasonable movie. Like it's not.
I think I gave.
It's entertaining.
I either gave it a 3. Yeah, I gave it either a 3 or a 3.5. I was right around the same feelings about that.
So it's one of those, like, that's the class of movies that I'm perfectly fine with. Like, they know what they're trying to do, they do it reasonably well, and you leave the film satisfied, but you're never going into there thinking like, I really hope this is an incredible movie. Like, it's just entertainment, and it fulfills that purpose.
I mean, also the best part of the movie was clearly the classic piano player playing Baby Shark.
Yeah. That did remind me of a scene like when my brother and I were younger, and we went to like a nice seafood restaurant at the beach, and there was a piano player, and he was coming around taking requests, and my brother requested the Michigan fight song. The Michigan fight song did not get played.
Oh, what a shame.
So that
no piano player at this seafood restaurant. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
As Clint Eastwood might say, killing a man is a hell of a thing, Ryan. And playing the Michigan fight song is apparently one also.
Yep. All right. Well, that is all the time we have for today. Thank you for checking out the Film for Fans podcast. Make sure you visit filmforfans.com, like, subscribe, tell your friends. Until next time, enjoy the movies.